Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're talking about principles of American government, so be sure to smash that like button and get your notes ready to go. I can sum up this video by telling you that the framers were super suspicious of power, and they didn't want any person or any part of the government to have too much power. To accomplish this, they set up a system of separation of powers and checks and balances. Please don't use these terms interchangeably because they are not the same thing. Separation of powers is the idea that each branch of government is assigned a specific job or jobs. For example, Congress makes laws, the executive branch enforces laws, and the judicial branch interprets laws. They each have their own job or their own power, so the powers are separated. Checks and balances refers to the ability that each branch has to limit or to block actions of another branch. So we'll see some kind of interaction between two branches happening. For example, the president has the power to veto legislation by Congress. So Congress makes the law, that's their power, but then the president can check that power by vetoing the bill and blocking it from becoming a law. Congress has the power to impeach and remove the president and federal judges. The House can impeach, which means indict or charge the president with a simple majority vote. Then the Senate holds the impeachment trial, where they can convict and remove the president with a 2/3 vote. Judicial checks are the easiest because their check is that they can rule things that the other branches did unconstitutional. Unit 2 is all about the branches, and it's even called interaction between the branches, so you'll get tons more examples, don't worry. For now, remember the reason why the framers set up separation of powers and checks and balances was to ensure that no one branch or no one person could have too much power. So this was their way of trying to protect the rights of individuals. Remember that vocab term from the first video, limited government? This is part of that limit, making sure that no part of government could have too much power. Federalist 51 is one of your required documents, and it is all about separation of powers and checks and balances. In Federalist 51, James Madison points out how difficult it is to establish a government that's strong enough to protect people's rights, but not too strong so it could actually take away people's rights. A truly limited government. His solution was separation of powers and checks and balances. It's a little early in the course for this, but a thought-provoking question is, with the emergence of political parties, are we sure that checks and balances still work today as intended? Because of the Constitution, power is decentralized, meaning that it's not all concentrated or held in one place. Not in one person, one branch, or even in one level of government. We have federal, state, and local governments. Centralized power is the opposite, and obviously from this lesson, we know the framers were extremely opposed to the centralization of power, where it all be in one place. Okay, so now we're going to shift gears a little bit and talk about a few specific things in the Constitution. Specifically, 3 ways that federal power was limited by the original Constitution. When I say original Constitution, by the way, I mean the Constitution before any amendments like the Bill of Rights were passed. That's actually important because you'll see that on test questions sometimes. It does not mean the Articles of Confederation, and I know that sometimes that can trip students up. First is the writ of habeas corpus, which protects people from being arrested and detained indefinitely. If you're arrested, you have to be brought to a judge and either informed of the charges against you or released. Some recent legislation notwithstanding, this is an important limit on federal power and a protection of individual rights. Next, Congress isn't allowed to pass bills of attainder. A bill of attainder is a law that declares a person guilty without a trial. And hopefully that just sounds immediately like such a bad idea that it doesn't even require any further explanation. Happily, Congress isn't allowed to do this. And thirdly, Congress is prevented from passing any ex post facto laws. Ex post facto literally means after the fact. So this refers to a law that criminalizes something after it was already done. For example, you're watching this amazing La Money production today, and it's legal to do so. But let's say that tomorrow Congress passes a terrible law banning La Money productions, and then they arrest you because you watched back when it was legal. That's an ex post facto law, and they aren't allowed. In Article 4, there are 3 rules about the relationships between states in the Constitution. First, according to the Full Faith and Credit Clause, states must respect the legal decisions of the other states. For example, if you get married in one state, you're still married if you move to another state. Next, the Privileges and Immunities Clause prevents a state from discriminating against citizens from other states. For example, states can't prevent out-of-state residents from traveling or working in that state, and they can't charge them higher taxes than the state's residents. And lastly, it has a requirement for extradition. If an escaped fugitive or suspected criminal is caught in another state, then that state would send him back to the state requesting him. Alright, that's it for this one. Keep it up, you are doing great. So until next time, this has been a LaMoney production. And hey, if you haven't already, what are you waiting for? Check out the Ultimate Review Packet. That Unit 1 test, it's probably getting pretty close, and I have practice and study guides, everything you need to help you ace that test. And I will see you in the next video.